So welcome. My name is Dr. Tabashir Nobari, and I am the graduate advisor for the program. And it's my pleasure to be able to walk you through some of the information about the program as well as applying. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat. Feel free to stop me at any time if something's not clear. And I do want to remind you that I am recording this session for later viewing online. So we'll be putting this recording on our website. So first question, why get a Master's of Public Health degree from Cal State Fullerton? So there's a couple of things I want to point out. And the first is that you would come to Cal State Fullerton for your MPH in order to develop the professional competencies essential to public health practice. And I want to emphasize here that our program is focused on public health practice. It's an applied program. And so that means that when you graduate from the program, you're really going to be prepared, excuse me, to take on positions within the public health field doing public health work. We are accredited by the Council on Education for Public Health, so CSUF, and that's the national accrediting body of schools and programs of public health. And CSUF has a set of guidelines for programs and schools to cover certain knowledge areas and certain competencies. As an accredited program, we're committed to training students to gain knowledge and mastery in those areas. And graduates of our program have gone on to make an impact in places like the CDC, the Orange County Healthcare Agency, and community-based organizations all throughout Southern California. Others have continued their education and gone on into doctoral programs. The MPH program at Cal State Fullerton also allows an opportunity to develop close working relationships with our faculty. So we've got 21 tenure track faculty, and each year we have about 25 to 30 students. So you can see really that faculty to student ratio is really a good one. And we have a lot of faculty who have a lot of different expertise who you can learn from and work with. Our faculty are committed to the education and the training of our master's students, and we make ourselves available to you both in terms of professional advising and also opportunities to get involved with research as well as community engagement and volunteering opportunities. Our faculty have expertise in a diverse number of fields, from nutrition and obesity to physical activity to cancer control, substance use, health equity, data science, HIV, AIDS, environmental health and water quality and air pollution. The third thing I'd like to point out is that you'd want to get your MPH at Cal State Fullerton in order to be able to engage in hands-on practice. And it's one of the core values that we have is to be able to have students not only learn about public health in the class, but be able to have opportunities to practice public health. So that includes class assignments that you get. They mimic and really reflect what you would be doing out in the workforce after you graduate. And there are also opportunities to be either an intern or volunteer or gain other experiences in the community. And you'll be able to take what you learn from the classroom and apply that to real life settings. The last thing I want to point out is that we are strongly committed to the idea that you can get an excellent and outstanding education at an affordable price. And so for the 2022-23 academic year, the full-time tuition, and at Cal State Fullerton, full-time means 7 units or more, and each class is 3 units, is about $8,446. And for a part-time student, so that's 6 units or less, it's $5,434. So if you compare that to private institutions or other public institutions that might have graduate student fees, our program really competes not only in terms of the quality of the education, but also the affordability of the program. And it's important to us that our students are able to get that excellent education at an affordable cost. In terms of the core values of the MPH program, there are 5 that we build our degree program around. The first is an engaged learning environment. So in our classes, and we cultivate in our classes and in our relationships between students and faculty, an engaged learning environment where students don't just sit passively in the classroom and they're listening to the instructor, but they're really active learners. They're expected to engage in discussion. They're expected to come to class prepared to participate in that day's activities. And we want that highly engaged learning environment from all parties, so from our students and our faculty. We also expect a high degree of professionalism and integrity. And this is not something that we expect you to have once you graduate. This is really what we expect from you from that first day that you step into the program, that you conduct yourself with a high level of professionalism, that you're in the program recognizing that you're a grad student, and that you take your studies very seriously, that you engage with other people in a respectful and professional way, and that you adhere to all the professional codes of integrity, as well as your own personal values and integrity. Third, we believe in compassion and community responsibility. As a program that's focused on community engagement and community values, it's important to work with communities to understand what their goals are, what their perspectives are, and to support communities in their own efforts to improve their health. Fourth, we value discovery. We feel that graduate education should be something that students have an opportunity to engage in new ideas, to find new sources of information, and to come to learn about public health in its breadth, its depth, and in ways that perhaps you haven't had an opportunity to in previous educational or professional environments. Finally, we value and have respect for diversity. So we find that especially in a place like Southern California, where we have people from all walks of life, all sorts of backgrounds, who occupy all different occupations, that the things that allow us to have different experiences are valuable. These are not points of division or points of contention, but they're really opportunities for us to learn about each other. When we go out into the workforce, we recognize that we're not always going to work with people who look like us, who think like us, or who have the same background as us. And so it's really important early on to respect and value diversity for its own sake. So a little bit in terms of the actual program itself and the way it's structured. So by way of background, every class in the program is 3 units. So I'll refer to the number of classes, I'll refer to the number of units. Our core curriculum is 8 classes for a total of 24 units. We also have a graduate internship, which is 6 units, and that's 240 hours of field work. We also have what we call concentrations or advisory tracks, and we have 3 of them. One is environmental and occupational health and safety. One is gerontological health, and then the last is health promotion and disease prevention. And there are 3 courses within each concentration that you would take. You have 1 required course in that concentration and 2 electives in that concentration. Finally, there's a terminal requirement, which is what we call an integrated learning experience. And this is a tailored writing product that you'll develop in consultation with a faculty, as well as a comprehensive examination at the end of your last semester. What you see in parentheses here, PUBH 597, is the course number that you enroll in to participate in the integrated learning experience and to prepare for and take your comprehensive examination. So this is the list of classes that are a part of our curriculum. So you would take Public Health 500 in your first fall semester, and that's what that letter and number refer to. So fall, your first semester, first year. And this class is an introductory class, and it looks at the structure of the public health system, the way health policy is made, as well as thinking about the various activities that public health professionals engage in to help support lifestyle change. So again, you would be taking that during your first fall semester. 508, Public Health 508 is Statistical Methods in Health Science. Again, you would take that during your first fall semester. Public Health 501 is Advanced Methods in Epidemiology, and you would take that in the first spring semester. Public Health, Program Planning and Public Health Administration, you would also be taking in spring of your first year. And then during the summer, you would take Program Planning and Evaluation. During the fall of your second year, you would take Research Methods in Health Science and Advanced Environmental Health. And during spring of your second year, you would take Advanced Study in Health Promotion and Disease Prevention. Your internship right here takes place over the course of 2 semesters, spring of your first year and summer. And in the fall of your first year, you'll be identifying where you'll intern. And then in spring and summer, you'll complete the 240 hours of field work. You then have your advisory track classes, 1 required class and 2 electives. And then the pre-approved electives can be found in the MPH handbook, and we give that to all incoming students when they arrive in the program. If you place these classes on a customary timeline of the program, you see that in the first year, you take 500 and 508 and your concentration required course. In the spring, you take 501, 524, and your first internship class. In the summer, you take 535 and you continue with your internship. In the fall of your second year, you're taking 510. Research Methods 515, Environmental Health, and you're taking a concentration elective. And then in your last semester, you're taking 540, a concentration elective, and 597, which is where you work on that integrated learning experience and you study for your comprehensive exam. And you usually take that in week 15 or 16 of your last semester. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that our core classes are offered Tuesday evenings beginning at 4 p.m. And we do this because it allows students to continue working if they choose to while they're in graduate school. I'm going to stop here for a second and see if you guys have any questions about the structure of the program. Feel free to unmute yourself or put the question in the chat. Are there any questions so far? So these courses are in person. Some of the courses, some of the lectures of a class might be online, but the courses are in person. How long are the classes? Acumen, do you mean how many hours per week? So, okay. So the classes are typically 2 hours and 45 minutes for a 3-unit class. And so if you're meeting once a week, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Now you might have an elective that meets twice a week, and that would be half of that time. That would be 1 hour and 15 minutes each. Any other questions? All right, so if anything comes up, feel free to unmute yourself or put in the chat. So let's talk a little bit now about applying to the program. I'm going to first cover the minimum program requirements. The first is that you've completed 3 units or 1 course of statistics and or research methods. Other similar courses that are acceptable are epidemiology, calculus, And you need to have completed that class with a grade B or better. You also need to have an appropriate educational background for the public health program. And because public health is a very broad field, there are many, many educational backgrounds that prepare you to work in public health. So a lot of what you want to try to do in your application is make the case in your personal statement that your educational background has in fact prepared you for what it is that you'd like to do professionally. We require a minimum cumulative GPA of 2.7 in your undergraduate program. And we'd also like to see students who have paid or volunteer experience in public health, health education, or a related health area. As needed, we ask for interviews, although generally for most applicants, this is not something that we ask for. So what you would do to apply to the program, if you haven't already, or you're just kind of starting to think about the process, you'll go to the website called Cal State Apply. And they'll ask you a few questions about what kind of program you want to apply to. You'll create an account, username, password, and to apply to the MPH program at Cal State Fullerton, you'll need to upload a number of documents. The first is a current resume or CV. You want it to be updated, and you want to highlight any relevant health experience, whether that's employment experience or volunteer experience. If you have any publications or conference presentations, including student conferences, you'll want to include those in your resume. You'll provide a statement of purpose, and the statement of purpose is 300 to 500 words. And this is really an opportunity to describe how the program relates to your professional goals. I recommend that for the statement of purpose, you communicate clearly what your professional goals are, and you tie in that educational experience at Cal State Fullerton with those professional goals. You also want to discuss your previous educational and or professional experience and how that ties to your public health goals. So what we really want to see is that you've got a clear sense of direction, that you've thought about where it is that you'll be going professionally, and how it is that the MPH program at Cal State Fullerton will help you prepare for those professional goals. You'll also be asked to submit an unofficial transcript, and then your official transcript from the institution in which you earned your bachelor's degree. That should be sent directly to the Cal State Fullerton Office of Admissions. And I want to clarify here again that you upload an unofficial transcript into Cal State Apply, but then you have to request that the institution where you got your bachelor's degree send an official transcript to Cal State Fullerton Office of Admissions. You'll need to indicate 2 recommenders who will write letters of recommendation for you. At least one of those should be academic. And you want to be very thoughtful about who these recommenders are. You want people who know you well, who understand or have a good sense of your educational or professional capacity to undertake the rigors of a graduate program and your preparation for that program. You want people who know what your professional goals are. If you don't have people lined up yet, think about who those people could be, who can speak to your educational and professional capacity. And then I'm sure you've noticed here that I've crossed off graduate record examination, or the GRE. So because of COVID-19 and the difficulty taking standardized tests, our GRE requirement from previous years is waived this year. So you don't have to take the GRE, you don't have to submit any GRE scores. So I'm going to pause and see if you guys have any questions. I do see one question in the chat. So it's asked, what is the average GPA of the incoming class? I don't have that information for the average, but our minimum is 2.7. We submit letters of rec requests in our resume. So you submit, in Cal State Apply, you will mention who your recommenders are and you provide their contact information. And then I believe Cal State Apply sends them notifications for them to enter in the letter for you. So Carla, I think you want someone who can speak to your ability to succeed in the program academically. So whether that's the professor whose class you took or a professor who served as your mentor. And so I would talk to both of them and tell them that you're planning on applying and see which one would be a better fit for you. No, you can submit your application and then the recommenders, you can submit your application before the due date and then the recommenders can upload their letter. I don't want to say something incorrect, but I believe we're only asking for 2 letters of rec. I'll have to get back to you on that, Kirsten.
Hello, I do have a question.
Hi, Victor.
So I graduated from college about 11 years ago.
Okay.
And between that time, if I took a public speaking course at a community college and then like a Spanish course at a community college, do I need to provide those transcripts as well?
I believe you do not need to provide those transcripts. So you provide the transcript of the institution where you received your bachelor's degree. There might be few cases where the Office of Admissions asks for further transcripts, but in general, you're just required to submit that transcript where you received your degree.
Okay, and then the follow-up question is, in that same 11-year gap, for me, it's like I didn't really keep in touch with any professors for a letter of recommendation. I did, in the last 2 years, did take a class at Cal State Long Beach and Fullerton to get my chess certification. But it was during COVID where it was kind of like they just provide you with the assignments and you just do it. So there was really no interaction with the professors. Do you have any recommendation on?
I would talk to those professors that you took classes for the chess certification and see what they think. If they would write you a letter of recommendation and be able to speak to your capacity as a student. If not, then maybe rethink that. But I would first talk to them. And in that case, I'm wondering if you should also submit your transcripts from Cal State Fullerton. And you had mentioned Cal State LA. So could you email me later? I'll give you my email at the end and let's think that through.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Right. So Ariana, so this is, in the past, you would have to submit all your transcripts from all the institutions, but now Cal State Fullerton is no longer requiring that. There might be exceptions to the case and we would let you know. But generally, we are just asking for a transcript from the institution where you received your degree. Now, if it finds out that your GPA is lower than that 2.7 and you continued your education and the last 60 units was, were higher than the 2.7, then you would want to definitely submit your transcript. But if you have any questions about your specific case, feel free to email me and we can talk through it. All right. So you also have 3 supplemental questions to answer, and these have to do with your advisement track, the faculty members you might want to work with, and a future contribution that would bring you professional and personal satisfaction. So in terms of the advisement track, you'll be asked which of the 3 tracks you'll want to follow. So again, it would either be environmental and occupational health and safety, gerontological health, or health promotion and disease prevention. And you should discuss why you're choosing that track. You'll have 300 words to do so. And in this response, what you want to do is communicate that you understand what this track entails, why you're choosing it, how it relates to your professional goals. In terms of 2 faculty members you want to work with, my suggestion is to visit the Cal State Fullerton Department of Public Health website. And there we've got our list of tenured and tenure track faculty with their bios, their pictures, their CVs, some of their recent projects. So you can become familiar with the faculty and then choose 2 who you'd like to work with. And then similar to the advisement track, you want to identify 2 faculty based upon their research areas, their areas of expertise that would be supportive of your professional and educational goals. Lastly, you'll discuss what future contribution in public health would bring you personal and professional satisfaction. And what we really want to see here is why you've chosen public health as a professional route. What is it that you would like to achieve? What are the goals that you have for yourself in the profession? So 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, what are you hoping to accomplish? So for these 3 supplemental questions, you really want to put a lot of thought into it. You want to consider each one carefully and do use that full 300 words, or close to it. So if you're just submitting a 50-word answer, that doesn't show us that you've given this a lot of thought. So you want your answers to be full, comprehensive, thoughtful. And these questions are really an opportunity for you to share additional information than what is in your personal statement. So really think about these questions. Looks like we've got another question. It is limited to 2 faculty members, yes. In terms of the due dates and the application procedures for fall 2023 admission, the priority deadline is December 15th, 2022, and the absolute final application deadline is March 1st, 2023. So I recommend that if you can, that you get your application in by the December 15th deadline. This allows you to get your application seen in the first batch before any other applications that might have come in later. And so you will be given first consideration. Additionally, some of the deadlines for scholarships are early next year. So if you submit your application by December 15th, that allows you to be competitive for graduate funding opportunities for the fall 2023 admission. So the earlier, the better, if you can. When you log into Cal State Apply, if you haven't already, you'll see that there are 4 quadrants. The first 3 quadrants are pretty straightforward. They'll ask about, personal information, name, address. Another is academic history and professional history, and then some supporting information. And then in the 4th quadrant, that's where you're going to see the opportunity to upload your documents and materials for the MPH program. So, your resume, your statement of purpose, your unofficial transcript. You'll also be able to indicate your 2 recommenders, and then you'll submit your official transcript. You'll have your official transcript submitted directly to Cal State Fullerton. Any questions actually about this? Okay. So a couple of final tips. As I mentioned before, be thoughtful in your responses. Really put in the time and the effort in your supplemental questions and in your personal statement about why it is that you're choosing public health as a career. What do you feel you'll be gaining out of a graduate school experience, and what is it about Cal State Fullerton in particular that attracts you? I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have no writing errors in your statement of purpose or in your resume or in your supplemental questions. So you should write out all of your supplemental questions in a separate Word document and then copy and paste it into Cal State Apply. So that'll kind of minimize any writing or grammatical errors there. But again, so similar to responses that aren't very thoughtful, when you have writing errors in any of your documents or your supplemental questions, that oftentimes communicates to the reviewers that there's a lack of attention to detail. And that might suggest a lack of seriousness about the application and the desire to attend the MPH program. So I strongly suggest that you proofread again, and then you get someone else to help you and for them to proofread your application materials to make sure that they're as close to perfect as you can get them. Then finally, I want you to think about in your application materials, connecting your past education and professional experience to your educational goals and your professional goals. So it's good to articulate the path that you're on. So where you've been, where you are now, and where you want to go, and to kind of draw that line through those 3 points for the reader so that it's clear that you've thought about your interest in public health. You've thought about what it is that you want to do, and the program will help you get there, that this is the right time to go to grad school as well, and that you're prepared to do so. So these are 3 general tips for preparing your application. And I'm happy to take any questions you have. Yes, Carla, so you will only need to submit the application through Cal State Apply. That is correct. This is my email, tnobari@fullerton.edu. You're welcome to email me later if any questions come up. We also have mphinfo@fullerton.edu, and you can email them too as well. We'll both answer your questions. But are there any questions, any other questions I can help with for the moment? So the recording will be put online on the How Do I Apply page. Sure. So typically, it depends when you apply, right? So let's say you apply by that first deadline, by the December 15th deadline. Typically, it would take at least a couple months to hear back. So you wouldn't hear anything until, and it varies, but I would not expect to hear anything until February.